let's get to Bitcoin, Daniel, because you have some strong opinions. You also saw a lot of the conference. It was broadcasted. Great. I love the way it was broadcast. It's very simple. You don't have to click like 25 links. It's one link. You can see everything, and it's just cut up of all the, the panels and all the speeches and everything. But, it's pretty crazy. But what was your takeaway just from listening to those speeches? Because I know you follow a lot. You have context there as well. So
yeah, it was cool. And for everybody, it's still up on YouTube. I was actually skimming through some of it today, this morning early. They were broadcasting both days. I think each day was about 8 hours. And like you said, they did an amazing job logistics on stage. We hear that it was kind of a shit show on the crowd side, getting around Miami.
Long lines. I heard this.
Yeah, and getting in. Lines, yeah. And that's a bummer. I mean, there were several times during different panels where the guest or the speakers would reference the crowd, and they were saying anywhere between 10 and 12,000 people in the room. I didn't really see an overview of the room, but I take their word for it. But, we talked about last week how they were expecting over 50,000 people at the conference in general. So, of course, you're going to have logistic issues there. But as far as the way they ran it, it was brilliant. You just had some upbeat music, MC come out, introduce the next panel. And Frank, we talked about this real quick, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I felt like you were kind of turned off about how it was only going to be about Bitcoin. And I thought that was a really good point. But I have to say, if I had to use one word to describe this conference, it would be authentic. Because you have the likes of Jack Dorsey, Twitter and Square CEO, and a huge fan of Bitcoin, who, man, was it last year? Or it might have been in 2018, but he came out and said, hey, I'm buying X amount of Bitcoin every month just because I believe in it. Well, obviously he's a billionaire anyway, so he doesn't need it, but it's amazing. Ron Paul was a speaker there. Michael Saylor, Frank Holmes, as you mentioned. Yeah, but what I thought was so authentic about it is while it was only about Bitcoin in the sense, it wasn't everybody on the same page. You would literally have a panel go out there and give their opinion. Next panel would come on. Hey, what that guy just says is bullshit. And you have to respect that. I mean, at least I do. I think you should respect that because some of these people think Bitcoin is going to replace the US dollar. It's going to replace the Fed. Now think about that. Mm-hmm. Let me ruin that real quick. You don't ruin the Fed with technology. That would take a war and an army. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying Bitcoin won't get an army at some point, but that's not how you tackle the top. But a lot of people don't. They said, no, it don't need to replace the Fed. It just needs to keep doing what it's doing. It gives everybody hope. That is the big takeaway. This is a global story. Whether you like or want to invest in it or not, that's fine. But the stats they give on El Salvador, which is a good segue because we can get into them making history. But when you talk about the people that are unbanked, that don't even have the option to have a banking system, depending on where you live in the world, and then on top of that, you're subject to government controls and inflation and your currency going through the roof or down the toilet overnight, basically. When that's your normal, an internet connection is hope for you. And I buy into that. That doesn't mean that it's going higher or lower. It means that this is a lot more than just money, and that's pretty cool to me. And I thought the conference did an excellent job getting that point across.
Yeah, and just when I say it's a Bitcoin, for me, I go to conferences because I like to look for new ideas. I like to just network and stuff. And it would have been a good time to network, but it was just, I know it was really, really crazy there. And we just officially got our financials audited, which took a very long process. And yeah, the week was kind of crazy for me, but just the amount of emails that I got in were incredible. And when I say it's only Bitcoin, one of the biggest things within Bitcoin, I thought, is outside of, the idiot that came on stage and ruined one of the panels and stripped off his clothes. He was wearing a shirt with Dogecoin on it. He's like, yeah, it's like, man, I mean, you really want to take this seriously, guys. That's not a way to do it. But, and Mike Kaiser saying, fuck Elon and going crazy.
That even shocked me. That caught me by surprise. That was funny.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Saylor was a huge rock star. I heard that from so many people, which, we already knew, but just massive, massive fan. But I don't know if I get that though. I don't know if I get why they love Michael Saylor. I get it because he's buying Bitcoin, but right. You have to realize, it's not really him who's buying it. He's an institutional investor, and he's an institutional investor investing through his company MicroStrategy. Yes, if you ask most hodlers, they want more institutions involved, right? I would think that they want more institutions involved, but yet that requires a little bit more regulation, not totally regulated, but it does require where you need to know where your money is. You're not going to lose it. You're just not going to get taken, right? I mean, these are institutions that operate with a fiduciary responsibility for their clients. and they manage trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Okay, so you know, it's if you say you want more institutional ownership, they boo you, but yet they were cheering Michael Saylor, who's an institution. And I have to say this for all the Bitcoin diehards out there. Okay, I'm a Wall Street guy. This is where I grew up. 25 years, worked on Wall Street. I'm also a crypto guy. Established the first ever security token. It trades on a foreign exchange that's available to retail investors. I understand both industries. And I always understood that in order for this to work, you're going to have to merge. There's a reason why Bitcoin surged. Bitcoin surged because it wasn't a whole bunch of more retail investors wanted to get in. It is because Twitter, PayPal, you saw all the news, MicroStrategy. You're like, wow, this is really getting adopted by institutions. And if you want to see the price go higher, if you wanted to go, and the target's out there, 300,000, 500,000, it's not going to get there without institutional support. I know you might think I'm full of shit. You might be like, no way, we're strong. You're not. It's not. You just don't have that big of a market. I mean, to put in perspective, anyone who thinks otherwise just doesn't understand math. And right now, it's a $650 billion market cap for Bitcoin. $650 billion market cap. That's huge. The NASDAQ, which is filled with America's biggest technology companies, the trillion-dollar companies, it has a combined market cap of 13 trillion. You need to get institutions in here, like international brokers just announced that they're going to start trading crypto this summer. It is a summer, isn't it? Yeah, they said this
officially.
Summer. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean tomorrow? Does that mean like, end of summer? I don't know. But it's this summer, but they just announced it, which is great news. But you need that because that's where the volume comes in. That's where even more liquidity. That's when this market really, really explodes. And that's the thing I didn't get, Daniel, because they're so quick to say, we love Michael Saylor, but when there was times when you talked about institutions, and there were a lot of institutions there, by the way, it seems like they're totally against that and saying, no, well, we don't want, Wall Street, or they still, they still hate Wall Street and those institutions. But again, you need both of them. You need to merge this, and it's coming, and you see it a little bit. That's why we're seeing this move again, to pull back a little bit. But that's one of the things I don't understand. I don't get. And for all the Bitcoiners out there and even the Wall Street, you want to explain it to me, fine. But why boo the institutions? And knowing that in order for them to come in, you need a little bit more regulation, just a little bit, not freaking, we're going to come to your house, no worries. But it's got to trade like your average brokerage firm, where you're getting statements. The IRS knows if you have capital gains taxes, there's no bullshit, no black market. You're not going to get hacked and things gone forever, where you have insurance on this thing, which you have through brokerage firms. But, that's really important. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think what is so amazing to me about Bitcoin, and I haven't come to the light or seen the light. I've been a fan for a while. Obviously, I wish I would have bought more as it's gone up. But what Bitcoin does on a number of different topics that I think is just, I think it deserves a lot more credit than what it gets. It makes you have a conversation. So just like with you, it makes you have a conversation about institutionals and why you need this big money Wall Street and a blend of regulation and kind of total just, hey, if you screw up, you're on your own, this individuality. It also, Frank, here's why I think I've figured this out. I think I know why gold bugs are so pissed off at Bitcoin, because they've really gotten their thunder stolen on an important topic. And I'm not talking about price. I don't care if an ounce of gold is more or less than Bitcoin for this sake of argument. What Bitcoin does, do you know how many times, I wish I could print out a transcript of everybody there, Frank. Mm-hmm. But the over-under on the words inflation and the Federal Reserve has got to be 50 to 100. Well, that's too big. That's too broad. Let's say 50. Mm-hmm. So gold bugs, and what I mean by gold bugs is, in this day and age, Frank, you're allowed to make up things and new definitions of everything between men and women and anything else you want. So I'm going to now. When I say gold bug, I mean the people that are bullish on gold no matter what, and it's gold only. So they're the types that, hey, the world isn't big enough for gold and anything else. It should just be gold. That's the only store of value. That's the only sound money. That's fine. I'll concede that to move on. What is the gold bug's biggest enemy? The Federal Reserve. And they are dying to get people to look and say, hey, check this out. Look at what goes on and look at what a silly fraud BS institution printing money. This is terrible for everybody. They pound the table trying to get you to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, hey, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right, yeah, paper money, not back. Okay. But then you come along with Bitcoin and people are like, wait a minute, what's the Fed do? And if you're a gold bug, you've been preaching this 20-some years, at least since the 70s, so longer than that. And now Bitcoin is stealing your thunder. It is making people question how the system works, who the system benefits, and who's in charge. And I think that Bitcoin has brought that conversation into the light better than gold has. And I think that's hilarious. But
why do you think? Why do you think that?
Because now you have a movement where you have all demographics and all age groups. So everybody from your teenagers and 20-year-olds up to, how old do you think? Well, Frank Holmes is in his 60s, you said?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Not that that's old.
I mean, he
looks well. He looks good for 60s.
He looks good. And, he's a
anyway.
Good guy. Yeah, he's
but my point is, so you have teenagers to 60-year-olds. Hell, how old is Ron Paul? He's got to be 80s.
I didn't see his speech. Frank sent it to me. I didn't get it. He said he goes, you had to see him on stage. He was fantastic.
He was.
Going crazy.
I didn't see it all, but if you know anything about Ron Paul, you know he's going to talk about freedom, and he's going to work Bitcoin into how that works with freedom. But so you have this age span of teenagers to 80-year-olds. You have all kinds of people from every color and walk and way of life. And they're all talking about inflation. Is it good or bad? Who does it benefit? They're all talking about the power of the dollar, the store of value. I know you like to push back on that because it fluctuates 30% in a week. How in the hell can that be value?
Yeah.
But
that's Michael Saylor's argument. It's a store of, I don't get that argument. It's a store of value.
And
I mean, store of value.
But the fact that everybody can turn to that and start questioning that, the fact that all walks of life and all demographics are talking about the Fed, inflation, interest rates, and what it means for economies, I think is a great thing overall. Of course, you're going to have people that agree to disagree. You're going to have people on both fringes. But man, I got to tip my cap to Bitcoin because I think it does a better job at bringing it into the forelight or the spotlight than gold has. And again, I think the world is big. I'm a lazy investor. The world is easily big enough for both. Have exposure to both. You know, you have a tailwind for both assets. But yeah, I think the conversation is amazing, and that's only going to grow. And I think that's really, really powerful for everyone.
It's tough for the younger generation who's growing up in digital to really look at gold as a better option than Bitcoin. But the biggest thing here, Daniel, of everything that you said, I mean, there's one thing that Bitcoin has that gold will probably never have is the massive volatility and the greed factor of people that they could actually be. Most people, you know, even when I take polls online, and again, it's not like I have a massive presence on Twitter or anything, but you're looking at a lot of these people aren't holding it for a store of value. A lot of these people are holding Bitcoin because they want to get filthy rich.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have that greed factor where you're seeing this thing go up tremendously and it's in the news every single day. And yet, what do you have with gold? Okay, well, you know, we're going to put a stake in the ground here, and then we're going to drill, and we got all these junior miners who never, ever have plans of developing these things, and we're going to try to sell them to the majors, and, you know, and they're not going to produce for 12, 13 years, you know, just on the stock side, right? I mean, if you're buying the actual, you know, Bitcoin and you're buying gold as a currency, it doesn't have the fluctuations. It doesn't have the excitement. It doesn't, like, people don't want to buy. It's funny because these Bitcoin people are buy and hold forever. And so are the gold bugs. But if you saw Bitcoin going up or like 1% or down 1% and traded like gold, you wouldn't really be seeing this many people in it. And that's why you're looking at the Wall Street bets crowd and the Reddit crowd. It's just, you know, what's going to be the next name, right? So everybody wants to know. I mean, now it's Wendy's that's taken off all of a sudden. It's Clover. It
wasn't just because Wendy's started breakfast. That's not why it went up like 20% the other day.
No. But
I'm sorry. Go on. I'm kidding.
It's just funny though. So for me, the greed factor, the volatility, and the fact I think that they have something, or they feel like they have something to their own, right? Because I think everybody, I really believe this deep down, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but deep down, by yourself, look in the mirror, you all want to be in the in crowd. You all want to be connected where you're at Goldman Sachs at the top, where you're getting stuff, or at Andreessen Horowitz, where you're they're investing in cryptos and they're getting them for like 5 cents, or you're at, you know, SPACs, which they're buying for $1 and you're buying them at 10 and they go up to 15 and, you know, they don't even care if it crashes to 8 because they're making a fortune. You want to be in that crowd. And I feel like, you know, it's very, very difficult. It took me a long time to actually be associated with that crowd. 25 years I've been doing it. I still don't have, you know, full access, but I have a lot of access to a lot of cool things and deals, especially through Curzio 1. But Bitcoin is something that they could say it's ours. Like, this is us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's something to be said for that. But the similarities are straight. It's amazing, the similarities, right? I mean, they both hate the Fed. You're using this because they don't believe in fiat. They're both buy and hold forever crowd. I mean, they both believe in the same thesis, but yet a lot of these people still hate each other. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to turn gold around. I think gold's going to go a lot higher. There's money to be made. But I don't know if we'll ever see the Reddit crowd get into gold. I don't know if we would ever see that. I really don't think we would see that.